Over the last number of years, we cannot fail to notice the incredible changes and shifts in demands on social media. Decentralization has been at the absolute heart of that conversation. So in this session, we will examine what we can anticipate from decentralized social media, what the shape and the model might look like into the future, and how you can be ready for those changes. Here to lead the discussion and tell us a little bit more, no one knows more than Managing Director of Emergo Media. Please give a huge, almost lunchtime welcome to Sebastian Zilikus.
Good afternoon, everyone. I know we are just before lunch, so please bear with me. I know that everyone wants to refill their energy levels. So, it was actually exactly 1 year ago I was standing on stage in Lausanne during Cardano Summit last year to announce the launch of our first product called Cardano Spot. And Cardano Spot is a social network for Cardano enthusiasts. Now, why did we launch Cardano Spot itself? It is to empower and connect Cardano enthusiasts, traders, entrepreneurs, newbies into the Cardano ecosystem, as well as onboard new users into the Cardano ecosystem. Now, how do we see social networks differentiate themselves now compared to the future? So social networks like LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, can they survive in the next 10 years? And to be able to understand the difference, we first have to start with how do we look at identities? So within the Web 2 world, such likes of LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, we are really expected to disclose information, pictures, videos about ourselves as markers of our identities. And we spend a lot of time advertising ourselves, utilizing those markers. But with all those advertising activities we do, we haven't made any kind of money. It's very difficult to make money in the Web 2 world. You have to have hundreds of millions of followers in order to have any kind of success from financial freedom. Another thing is 99% of our identities are locked within the platforms that we use, which is something that the platforms themselves benefit from. Our digital identities are also fragmented across the different platforms. So, for example, you can be a corporate leader on LinkedIn, have your connections within LinkedIn environment. You can be a foodie on Instagram and have a different set of connections. And you don't own anything, neither the information nor the connections itself. And generally, we talk about ourselves in the Web 2 space with an identity of me and I. In the Web 3 space, we look at this very, very differently. In Web3, we celebrate diversity of identity and intersectionality instead of separating and excluding people because of it. The focus is really about shared identities, shared achievements, accomplishments, and choices we do, and we retain ownership of that information and those connections. And generally speaking, we talk about we and us instead of I and me. Now, I think everyone have either heard, read about any kind of news around TikTok's potential ban in multiple countries around the world. And the reason for governments and other people taking a look at this is mainly through four different areas. One is algorithms. Today, content recommendation is driven by activities within these platforms. Content is recommended by specific engagement you do, which can cause misinformation to really drive forward and be globally ready available. Content recommendation have also been used for political agenda. It has also a discriminatory ad algorithm, which is something that fuels these companies' revenue models. The other one is censorship. Central companies dictate what should be removed and what you should see. Thirdly is control. Users don't have any control of their personal information and how it's being used, which we have seen in many different cases through Facebook and so forth and so on. And lastly, mass monetization, rewards for all the contribution you do. Only a few people in the world are really able to generate any kind of income or reward based on what they do. And this is something that has resulted through research in many people feeling depressed, lonely. People have mental health issues because of it. And I would also say because of the spoon-fed algorithms, it leads to depth of exploration. We are not learning how to be curious or critical adults anymore. And this is something that also can see as a result of people becoming reliant or dependent on these algorithms. And to me, if you spend so much time on producing content, building content, and you don't get any kind of reward for it, I feel that is quite unfair. Now, how is that different in decentralized social media? And what is decentralized social media? It is really a network that displays content and connections that are not confined to one company or one platform, but act more of independent relays or nodes. And this is how general decentralized social networking aim to tackle the challenges that Web 2 social media has. The first one is transparency. So decision-making power is not concentrated in the hand of a few. Users are able to see how their data is being used. Control. User-centric models are giving people a greater control of their data itself and what they want and what they like. Users can select the algorithms of their choice, not being given an algorithm that is best for the company. Ownership. Ownership of content, which is very important, but not only ownership of content, but also ownership of the influence of the platform itself. Platform regulations, moderation guidelines, platform updates. And lastly, reward. Social media platforms built on blockchains presents novel ideas for creators to be able to monetize and be rewarded for their contribution. So what is really the potential of Web3 social networks? It's quite excited to take a look at this. So when it looks to empowerment, so platform-centric approach versus a user-centric approach gives greater control of identity, resulting in a more open and trustworthy connection between the users, but also between the user and the platform. Verification and trust can be used to combat false information, misinformation, and spam. So it relies on openness and consensus mechanism of blockchain to validate the veracity of data, as well as user identities. So this encourages dependable and trustworthy content and adding reputation systems and user-driven moderation. Decentralized social media systems are used also to provide improved security and privacy. Data breaches and illegal access are less likely to happen because the user data is encrypted and distributed throughout the network. Users' data can also seamlessly move between platforms, so breaking vendor lock-in, where content as well as your connections can be transported into different platforms. ownership of your connections. Connections of friends, followers can be ported between the different platforms. And creators can redirect payment for their works instead of getting it from indirect revenues through normally brands. And that's why value can be distributed more fairly. Now, we still have some challenges to go through before decentralized social media is really mainstream. Some of the main 4 points is user experience. So to draw in mainstream users, we still have enhancement to scalability, speed, and user-friendly interfaces are required. There's also a high amount of data being produced in social networks. Facebook today gets about 4 petabytes of data every day in their database. Luckily enough, we don't need to store all of that data in the blockchain itself. Blockchain technology, local consumer protection laws, censorship and moderation discussion must still be navigated and abide by pertinent laws. And we know this is a constant change and something we constantly need to navigate us through. And lastly, the concept of decentralized social media is still in its infant stage. User needs to be informed about the benefits, the values, and the potential in order for them to be widely used. Now, what are we... Okay. Now, what have we done within Cardano Spot itself? And what are the things that we really do to help specifically projects within the Cardano ecosystem? And it goes... A large amount of effort that we do goes around interest. It goes more towards awareness. That was the word I wanted to find, awareness. So many times you can sit in your home, your parents' home, your own home, yourself or together with friends, and think about an amazing product that you want to build. And you spend days, you spend weeks, or you spend months, or even years to build this amazing product. And once you finish, you all say, high five, we completed a really amazing product, it will revolutionize the world. And then you sit down, and then nothing happens. No users, no monetization, nothing happens. And the reason for that is awareness. People are not aware that your product exists. And that is where we step in, to really help Cardano projects to be aware within the Cardano ecosystem, outside of the Cardano ecosystem, and eventually to the mainstream users. Now, awareness is not enough to build a business. You also need to create an interest. But you need awareness first, and the interest from people about what you do as a product can come afterwards. Now, that is still not enough to run a business. You need to monetize it. You need to have a revenue model. And that can only come after you have created an interest for users. So our role is to funnel projects through this 3-step process of awareness, interest, and then help you monetize your product. And we do this in various formats. We write articles about the projects, we do live streams, we do X-Spaces, we channel that information through other Web3 media portals, even into traditional media itself. So it's a very good avenue for you to be known in the Cardano ecosystem itself. Now, what are we at Cardano Spot is planning to do, specifically aiming for decentralized social media. And here is some of the updates that we have done over the past year. Amazing, right? Now, exactly 1 year ago at Cardano Summit in Lausanne, I was presenting this roadmap with the launch of Cardano Spot itself. And the team has worked really hard over the past year and achieved great results. So we had presented a roadmap with different kind of stages of functionality, features, and what we want to focus on. And I'm quite happy to say that, firstly, we have completed stage 1, completed stage 2, specifically with our mobile app launch a few weeks ago. We have also launched our completed stage 3 together with our mobile app development launch. We launched version 1 platform, which is a complete redevelopment of the entire, both front-end as well as back-end. New tech stack, and we have also this week done the wallet integration itself. So any Cardano wallet that is have SIP30 enabled is something that can be used for login registrations on Cardano Spot today. Now, we are not ready with all the things yet for this year. So within the next couple of months, there are a couple of more things that we will achieve. The first one is open access. So today, you can see projects, you can see news, but we will open the entire platform up for anyone without the need of registration. Second part is that we heard a lot from the community and outside of the community, specifically from Web 2, that it's difficult to understand the language and how to enter Web 3. So we are launching a section called Cardano Wiki, and the aim for this section is really about onboarding new users in a very, very simple way, as well as a dictionary that helps them understand the language we use in Web3 and Cardano. And lastly, we are also improving our content discoverability within the platform. That supports projects to be more aware. It supports events within the Cardano ecosystem to be more in the front. And it also allows and helps content creators to be more visible within the platform. It's still not an algorithm, still just content discoverability. Now, we are also extremely excited about what will happen next year. And this goes back more towards the decentralized social network effort and aim that we have. And there are mainly 3 different areas that we will focus on next year. One is, how can we help projects manage their communities better through the platform? So a core point. The second is content ownership. So we are really going to have long-form content on Cardano blockchain itself, and related to that would be a reward and monetization mechanism to these content creators all over the world. And the last thing is what we call a matchmaking service. So today we have heard, or not today, but over the year, we have spoken with a lot of projects within the Cardano ecosystem and heard that there are some support and help needed. Some of those are in the tech space. Some of them could be to create a logo, create a ad for them, help them on business development areas, help them on investment. So we want to build a matchmaking system to help people within the Cardano community that have that skill set and that expertise to support projects that is requiring that expertise and rewarding those people that contributed through this system in a fair and responsible way. So we are really excited about next year. It's a lot of things, and we are really driving in to being the first decentralized social network on Cardano itself. Thank you very much.